time shows on these cruises for the last several years, and Tim has joined me on most of them. And we have a couple other distinguished musicians that are going to be joining me today. Maybe you have known these guys from past years. This is my husband, John Goodrich from Whitefish. And this is our good friend, Bob Felman from, I believe it's Naples, Florida. Venice. Oh, I'm sorry, Venice. Well,
that other Italian town.
You know, one Florida city, you've seen one or heard one, and you've heard of them all. But so, I guess you can tell I've never been to Florida much. Tampa and Fort Lauderdale, I think that's as far as I've been. Okay, so we're going to do a program today, mostly Scott Joplin. We're going to throw a George Gershwin in there, but these are some of the classic rags that I'm sure you've heard many times, but just like traditional jazz, it seems like you can never hear them often enough. So we're going to start out with Bob here playing a clarinet line on the well-known Entertainer by Scott Joplin. And most of you heard this when you saw the movie The Sting, but it's one of probably the most well-known of the Scott Joplin rags. So, and it is in the key of B flat, in case you're marking your programs. It's normally played in C, but we're playing it in B flat.
We are.
We are.
I didn't sign up for this.
Are you ready, Bob?
Yes,
Bob back here for another tune here in a little bit. Of course, you all know the great Tim Allan. It's a pleasure always to share the stage with Tim Allan. I understand he lives in Florida in the winter and Toronto in the summer. Canada? Anybody from Canada? It's that country up there. John and I'm Karla West, in case we haven't met. We're from Whitefish, Montana, and speaking of Canada, we're just 60 miles away from Canada. So the next tune we're going to do is another popular Scott Joplin. Although a lot of people may not recognize the name, you might recognize the tune. And it's called Swipesy, and it's also known as a cakewalk. And so if you happen to have brought a cake with you today, you could walk with it and get a bunch of people following behind you.
Over here.
So cakewalks were fairly popular back in the 20s, and so this one is called a cakewalk, written by Scott Joplin and Arthur Marshall. And it always says to play ragtime slow, but there are a few tunes where you just can't help yourself and they kind of just go a little faster. And that's the way this tune is. It just wants to go a little faster. So here's the Swipesy Cakewalk. ragtime was initially written as for piano only, but over the years other instruments have been added, and there have been wonderful ragtime orchestrations written for full orchestras. And various combinations of instruments have gotten together to play ragtime music, including string ensembles and clarinet quartets and almost any combination of instruments that you can imagine. So this is a little bit unusual here with a clarinet and a banjo and a piano. John and I just did a concert here a couple months ago with a wonderful violinist, and so that melody line was very beautiful too in the ragtime genre. So we're going to feature another Scott Joplin piece, and it's called Elite Syncopations, and it's one of the classic Joplin rags. I think you'll like it. going to bring Bob Felman up here again and have him play along with us on The Easy Winners. I believe this was in the movie The Sting as well.
Sting 2.
Sting 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The Easy Winners. I think the title kind of speaks for itself. We're in the key of A flat, in case you're wondering.
Putting the pressure on it. Oh, you're going to take the lead? The lead chair?
right, beautiful. Thank you, Bob. We're going to move along here to a beautiful melodic tune called The Weeping Willow, and has just a very simple melody, but it's just so beautiful, especially with the clarinet and the banjo adding to the piano here. So here is The Weeping Willow by Scott Joplin. Yeah, that's a very, very beautiful, kind of a haunting melody. I find myself thinking about it even middle of the night or whenever I wake up, I can hear that tune ringing. So the next tune we're going to do is 1901. It's called a Peacherine Rag. And it's, again, says not too fast.
Ignore that.
Yeah, but it kind of wants to go along a little faster. It's kind of almost like a sort of a march. And some parts of it you might even hear sort of shades of the famous Maple Leaf Rag in this tune. So here is the Peacherine Rag. Most of the Scott Joplin rags were written in the A, B, and then A, and then C and D format. And if there's any piano players out there, and I see a couple of them, you know what I mean by that. The A string is played twice, B string is played twice, and it goes back to the A string one time, and then the C string usually changes key. And so we usually, with a trio like this, designate the C string by just a piano only first time through, and then the other instruments join in. for the repeat of the C string, and then finish out with the D string.
This next one's going to be just piano and banjo on all the strings.
Well, this next one really isn't a rag at all. It's actually called a Mexican serenade.
We'll need thermoflu or something.
And it's called Solace. And I do believe this was in the Sting, wasn't it? Wasn't it in the Sting? I'm any movie critics out there, they would know. Yeah, I think it was in the Sting. At least parts of it. So you'll recognize parts of it. But it's a very beautiful piece. It has a little bit of a Latin rhythm to it, and Tim is going to do that part on the banjo. So, yeah. Yeah, like that. Anyway, here's Solace, a very beautiful piece, probably one of the most beautiful pieces in this, at least in the slow tempo that Scott Joplin wrote, Solace.